had a bath. I don't think I need a new one. Anyway, getting back to the points. I want to start off with David De Gea. So we're going to talk about De Gea, Shaw, Rashford, Martial, and whether you give them a new deal. Now, De Gea, Shaw, Rashford have got 1 year left on their deal. In the summer, their deals are up, but we've got the option for a further year. Martial, his contract's up in 2024, so he's actually got 18 months left on his deal with the option of a further year. But Martial does want to resolve his future. Martial's not in a situation like a Rashford or a Shaw where he's like, oh, well, I'll talk about my contract in a year. Martial actually wanted to leave United a few months ago and will still want to leave United if they don't give him a new contract and offer him first team football. So although his contract's not as imminent as Rashford and De Gea and Shaw, it is still a decision that Erik Ten Hag is going to have to resolve because Martial wanted to leave and has only put it on hold to see how his future goes at United. So there's 4 players I want to talk about there. Let's get into it. So look, first of all, David De Gea said after the game yesterday that he'd love to stay at Manchester United and sign a new contract. I think it's been a really interesting... And in fact, look, we'll do this one by one because we've got polls. So let's go De Gea... La 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 la. De Gea. We're going to do poll on every one of these. I'm a genius. New contract. So De Gea is there for you to vote while I talk about it, and we'll do all 4, and we'll see what you think on it. I'm very interested to see, and I'm sure there'll be a lot of people who will be using this for their Twitter pages, etc. later on. So De Gea new contract, yes or no? I think that for me, right now, the answer is, if I had to make a choice, I'm not going to sit on the fence and say, let's see what happens. If I have to make a choice tonight, yes or no, on a David De Gea contract, yes. One, I think he deserves it because of what he's done for the club over the years, but that's not a great reason. The real reason for me is that I have seen improvement on De Gea, and I have said it, and a lot of you have disagreed with me, but I have seen an improvement, and I knew that would happen. If you don't think some of our players are going to improve under Ten Hag, what was the point in bringing him in? How can you sit there, which most of us have done, for the last 2 years, saying these players have not been coached, they've not had any coaching. Bruno's the same player he was when we signed him from Sporting Lisbon, which is true. If you sit there saying Solskjaer didn't coach players, and now we need a coach in Ten Hag, how can you sit there and say that some players won't improve? And I've done this already. I've done it on a members video. You can check it out. De Gea. Check the members video about De Gea. And that was from a couple of weeks ago before the Everton game. And I said, if you look at De Gea statistically this season and compare him to last season, there's already a big improvement in relation to key areas like coming for crosses, passing out from the back, his accuracy on that, the volume of passes he's making. It was already gone up by about 50%. The amount of passes he's playing has gone up by 50% compared to last year already, before the Everton game. So there has been a gradual improvement in his game. And I think what we saw yesterday against Everton was another step forward in relation to, there was a number of first-time passes in wet and windy conditions. There was a number of times he came out of his box. Now, if De Gea is playing like that at the start of October, what might he be playing like in January, February, March? And if he keeps improving, we're going to get a better and better goalkeeper. So I'm not 100% convinced yet, but he's definitely getting better. And ultimately, it comes down to Ten Hag's decision. And I think at the moment, if you said to Ten Hag, do you want to give David De Gea a new contract? I think he's starting to think, maybe I do. Because one thing that people do not give David De Gea the credit for is the vast amount of experience and leadership he has in that squad and respect. Everybody loves De Gea. Whether it's Marcus Rashford, Cristiano Ronaldo, Rafael Varane, Harry Maguire, they all do respect and like David De Gea. He's well liked, he's well respected, and he's a big voice in that dressing room. That's important. You look at Leicester, I think one of Leicester's big problems this season is losing Kasper Schmeichel. And I think that losing David De Gea, you might get a better up-and-coming sweeper keeper, but you will lose in those first few years what we lost when Schmeichel went and Van der Sar went. So I think that, I probably would give De Gea a new contract at the moment. And I am seeing improvement. And I tell you what, I'm not interested in hate or falling out with people. I think people can be very toxic and agenda-driven on social media. But I will applaud it when I see a lot of those people yesterday saying, you know what, if De Gea can play like that every week, I'm on his side. And I think that is ultimately the path to redemption, if he needs it, with anybody. We've seen it with Luke Shaw. I think we can see it with Maguire. I think we've seen it with McTominay. You can be a player, and Rashford and Bruno, you can be a player that deserved a lot of criticism. But if you can play well in a United shirt and do it in the right way, you will reap the rewards. And I think De Gea, there's a long way to go, but he is a leader as well. Exactly, his class of his own, says Shane. The wages are big, Michael, and I was going to come to that. But you know, De Gea with a lower wage is insane. How much are we going to pay for a new goalkeeper? And I think that's a great point as well. A new goalkeeper will cost a lot of money, unless you take a gamble on someone like Lafont, which I do like, but he would. I did a video on this in the international break. I think for me, I would buy Lafont, someone like that, a developmental keeper to work alongside De Gea over the next 2 years. That's what I would do. That's why I'd give him a new contract. I wouldn't be looking to get rid of De Gea to spend 40, 50 million pounds on a Maignan or someone like that, or a Robert Sanchez from Brighton, because that's what it will cost. And then who's going to buy De Gea? I think the logical decision for United is to keep De Gea and bring in a developmental goalkeeper next to him. I think that's the way to go. So it would be a yes from me. Of course, I'm not going to lie and say that this is a very fluid situation. If De Gea's form drops off again and his distribution drops off again, then you've got to revisit it. But right here, right now, I think the answer is to give him a new contract and to bring in a developmental goalkeeper next to him that's not Dean Henderson, let's be honest. You know, somebody that really wants to learn the spot and earn the spot over the next 2 years. I think that's the way to go. But I will add, can we get his wages down? Because 350 grand a week, can you get him to take a pay cut? Yes, you can. Because I would say to David De Gea, look, you've had a few years on that wage. It was a silly wage. No one else is going to give you that wage elsewhere. If you think you can get that somewhere else, please, I think it's best for you to go, David. We're not being disrespectful, but we want to bring that contract down to, 280, and we'll give you 3 more years on 280, or maybe 250. But you might not get him that low. But what you can't do is disrespect him. You can't just try and just say what we're refusing to do that. You've got to have an honest. I'd just sit him down and say, look, I want you to stay. I want you to be part of the future. But no one's going to give you 350 grand a week, David. So. Because what you don't, but what he might say is, well, we'll see about that. I'll run my contract down. You've got to handle it very, very carefully. And it's not De Gea's fault, and it's not the people who negotiate on it now's fault. Again, this is a legacy of stupid mistakes of the past, where you're giving an injured Phil Jones 5 years.